So what Hobbes points out to us is that our natural condition, right, is something other than this state in which we have societies, right, in which we have a government that protects us from one another, in which, in nature, right, these things don't occur. These are somewhat unnatural states, right? But naturally, human beings, left to their own power and devices, right? He wants to point out to us, in terms of our faculties of body and mind, in terms of our faculty of original power, we're more or less equal. And from equality comes diffidence, right? If we're more or less equal, we're equally a threat to one another, right? So, right, what he wants to point out to us is that in our natural state, there is absolutely no pleasure to be gained from associating with one another. If I see you coming down the street, I see a creature that is more or less equal to me, and not only that, but has basically the same needs to satisfy as I do, right? And enough power to at least potentially subdue me and take what I have, right? So since we're more or less equal, we're equally a threat to one another. So in our natural state, right, the faculty of reason lets us anticipate the danger that another human being, another nasty, selfish, greedy, self-interested creature that has the same biological needs as us, right, anticipate that they're a danger. And what's more, stemming from this danger that other human beings present to us, it rationally justifies preemptive measures of invasion, conquest, and domination, right, arising from our appetite or desire to feel safe or secure. Right? So there is no pleasure to be had from hanging out with other people, right, associating with other human beings like us, because, right, there's no reason to trust us in a natural state. I know I'm a human being and I would stab you right in the back if it served my interests. Right? So you being a human being just like me, I know you're going to stab me in the back the second it suits your interests. So what Hobbes points out is that there are basically three principal causes of quarrel in a state of nature. They are competition. I see you've got something I want. I push you down. I take it. And what's more, since I'm rational, I know that if I push you down and I take what's yours, you're going to want it back. So in a sense, reason justifies me in sort of solving a problem before it becomes a problem. I see you've got something I want, I push you down, I take it, but I don't leave another threat out there, right, for me. What I do is I club you to death with a rock to make sure that you don't come back after me. You're a threat, right? Secondly, diffidence. We fight one another out of fear. I see you coming. You don't have anything I want, but I might have something you want. So again, right, I'm rationally justified in a state of nature in sort of solving a problem before it becomes a problem. Right? So I fear you. You're a threat to me. What do? I strike out against you. Right? And then finally, glory. We fight one another for reputation. This comes back to pretty well every prison movie that you see. Right? The best thing to do, if you're rough and tough when you're in prison, is find the biggest, toughest guy in the prison and knock him down hard. Then that way nobody else is going to bug you. Right? So that way, if you've got a reputation of being really tough, nobody really wants to take you on. Makes your life easier. Right? So basically what Hobbes is describing is a state in which people are quite rationally justified in defending themselves and engaging in activities of conquest and domination over other people. Without a common power, Hobbes argues, he describes our condition as a state of war, as is of everyone with everyone. And on page 186 of your text, there is a rather famous passage, right, that I'm just going to read to you here. Whatsoever, therefore, is a consequent to a time of war, where every man is enemy to every man, the same is consequent to the time wherein men live without other security than what their own strength and their own invention shall furnish for them withal. In such a condition, there is no place for industry, because the fruit thereof is uncertain, and consequently no culture of the earth, no navigation nor use of commodities that may be imported by sea, no commodious building, no instruments of moving and removing such things as require much force, no knowledge of the face of the earth, no account of time, no arts, no letters, no society, and which is worst of all, continual fear and danger of violent death. And the life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. So what Hobbes argues here is that in a condition where there is no common power to protect us from one another, right, since there is nothing to be gained from associating with one another in such a situation where everyone is at war with everyone, right, then this video couldn't occur, right? There would be no buildings of any consequence, right? There would be no disciplines that require more than the lifetime of one person to acquire knowledge. There would be no shared navigation. There would be no concept of time. That sounds weird because time will still pass, but our ability to measure it depends on social convention, so we can't measure time. No arts, no culture, no letters, no society. And what we find ourselves in is a situation where we're constantly having to be on guard, because the possibility of violent death at the hands of nasty, selfish, greedy creatures just like ourselves is constant. And he says the life of man is solitary. It's solitary because why would I come near you if you're a threat to me? Poor, because I spend so much of my time defending what I've got that I don't have that much. Nasty, brutish, because we're nasty and brutish creatures, right? We're kind of intelligent at the same time as we're vicious, power hungry, selfish, and the life of human beings is short, because no one individual, no matter what the action movies tell you, can hope of continually surviving this constant war of everyone and everyone. There might be tough people that nobody on a one-on-one fight, right, would really take on, but right, no one person can defend themselves against everyone. Right? So, right, what he's describing here is, again, kind of hard to argue with. Right? What happens whenever there's no 911 to call? Right? What happens in any situation where social order breaks down? People become selfish. People become self-interested. People are out for them and theirs. Right? It happens whenever, there aren't enough police to protect us against, say, a mob. Right? It happens whenever, right, power goes out. Right? There's looting, there's theft, there's violence. Right? We see this happening in our own societies in these closed scenarios. Right? And what Hobbes wants to point out to us is that, okay, the state of nature, it's a thought experiment. Right? Perhaps never have we lived totally as human beings in such a state. Right? But the threat of something like the state of nature is ever present and stems directly from our conception of human nature. Right? And nobody in their right mind would want to ever continue living in such a state.